Devourer of Gods, one of the most popular and well-known boss of all time in both Calamity Mod and the whole Terraria modding scene. Without a doubt, the fight is a classic and serves as a spectacular challenge for many players, especially with the addition of the Infernum mod, stepping up the whole boss fight onto another level with their spectacular visual designs and AI improvements. However, the Devourer of Gods you're seeing right now had not always been like this. It took years and years of evolution, resprites and changes in order for this masterpiece to reach this level. It all started on June 1, 2016, Calamity Mod's first release. During its first release, Calamity added a few weapons and 3 bosses: Desert Scourge, the Devourer of Gods, and the Slime God. In this version, Devourer was just a resprite of the Destroyer boss from Vanilla Terraria, but it is to be expected from a mod's first release. As each year progresses, the boss kept on getting better and better, getting new sprites and new improved attacks. Though do not expect much because the laser bullet hell was still quite a problem. It was near impossible to dodge and you'd have to run on a long platform during the whole fight, which really made the fight feel not dynamic at all. Fun fact, the Murasama we all know of used to look like this, basically a red Arcalis. Back then, if you enable Revengeance mode and you use the Cosmic Worm, you'd summon 2 instead of 1 Devourer of Gods. Truly something of a game design. What's the correlation, you ask? Well, Murasama used to be an exclusive drop from Devourer of Gods if you defeat it on Revengeance mode difficulty, so good luck getting it back then. Later on, Murasama was removed from the loot table and got replaced by Cosmic Discharge Flail, which ironically is the best weapon to use against Devourer. And on October 2017, it received one of the most groundbreaking changes in Terraria modding history, in which Devourer of Gods receiving a final phase for its fight, gaining a new majestic and bigger body armor and new attacks during this final form. Back then, this was something new and mind-blowing, as bosses usually consist of 1 or 2 phases in a single fight, but you had to fight Devourer twice due to it gaining another form after defeating the original one. This was a revolutionary concept that is very new and exciting for Terraria players, a breath of fresh air. Not to mention, Devourer of Gods used to be the final boss of Calamity Mod, not Supreme Calamitas, which made its final phase even more special. Following the final phase update, a music theme was made within hours of its release by DM Dokuro. Yes, believe it or not, Universal Collapse, the legendary music we all know of, was in fact made in a rush, hours upon receiving the new information of Devourer of Gods final phase. Huge respect. As time passes by, Devourer of Gods kept on receiving tons of updates, from tons of attacks and AI rework to countless sprite changes, becoming notorious for the boss that received the most reworks and resprites in Calamity Mod with a total of 10 resprites. And I'm curious, did anyone remember the future form of Devourer? It was called the Devourer of Universe. And yeah, it was terrible. Fast forward to this date, it received tons of visual effect additions, such as summoning a purple dimensional portal upon entering phase 2, and even a special death animation in which the worm collapses into pieces. And of course, the main reason I wanted to make this video in the first place, Calamity Infernum mod. Infernum mod's more recent update changed the Devourer of Gods fight into something of an otherworldly experience. The background changes into a space nebula sky filled with stars that represents the galaxy where Devourer comes from. The battle is completely different from the Devourer of Gods we all used to know. It alters some of the attacks and also changed the AI of the boss. Some people dislike Infernum Devourer's AI, as it pretty much makes dashing a requirement. However, I do find it okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm not hating it either. But we can all agree that the fight feels more organized, cleaner, and smoother. It has a special sick animation upon entering phase 2, which really builds up the atmosphere for the fight. During the fight, beautiful visuals are thrown endlessly at the player. The laser wall phase is quite different from the original version. It is slower yet feels cleaner. I am still not a huge fan of the laser wall phase, but I gotta say they did a good job on it. And let's talk about those sick dimensional rifts it comes from. It is really awesome and adds a menacing and sheer feeling to the atmosphere of the fight. Infernum Devourer of Gods might possibly be the peak of Devourer of Gods. It is something that could be called a work of art, as it is visually magnificent, dare I even say a masterpiece. It is astoundingly impressive to see how Devourer went from just a purple colored destroyer sprite into a cosmic galaxy space worm entity that fits on God's essence. It is very fascinating to see how this space worm grows from year to year, but one thing that did not change is its edgy dialogue. While some people might have mixed feelings about Devourer's fight in itself, as worm bosses tend to be generic in the Terraria modding scene, we can all agree that without Devourer of Gods, Calamity wouldn't be as popular as right now. So, what are the plans for the future of this boss? Concept arts for sprites of Devourer of Gods have been made by Iban, and it looks like they're trying to make Devourer look more similar to a dragon than a worm in the future. And that's the evolution of the infamous classic galaxy space worm, Devourer of Gods. It took me a lot of time and research going back and forth between dozens of Calamity versions just in order to make this video. Your subscribe and like would be greatly appreciated. That's it for this video, thank you and see ya.